Member for North Coast.
Yesterday, the Minister of Health suggested we didn't understand the unique problems facing residents of rural and small communities. So let's consider a challenge his government seems indifferent to. There are no licensed funeral services on Haida Gwaii, but for many years a volunteer filled the void, helping families with their deceased loved ones. Recently, Consumer Protection BC ordered him to stop helping grieving families. With the people of Haida Gwaii now at a loss, Northern Health issued a pamphlet for bereaved families. It suggests that they should obtain a casket, though it would need to be shipped to the island, or they could find a local carpenter. They should find a grave digger, though none are listed in the yellow pages. And then they should collect the body from the hospital themselves. How many grieving families could possibly do these sorts of things? My question is to the Minister of Justice. Does she think these are the sorts of challenges that should face a community of 5,000 Northern residents?
Madam Attorney.
Madam Speaker, I do appreciate that this is a difficult situation, but it is the law in British Columbia that funeral directors must be licensed by Consumer Protection BC in order to operate. And this is in order to obviously protect consumers and communities. Consumer Protection BC is enforcing its own requirements here, and so it's not appropriate for us to interfere or comment on those decisions, but I do wish the residents well and hope that they can come to a resolution.
Member for North Coast on a supplemental.
I'm just a bit gobsmacked, pardon me.
Thank you, Minister.
The only suggestions offered by Consumer Protection BC were for families to send the remains off island, or the most outrageous suggestion, perform funeral preparations themselves. But even if families could afford the $10,000 to ship their loved ones off the island, the ferry service is sporadic, particularly in winter. To the Minister of Justice, will she ask Consumer Protection BC and Northern Health to work with the community and help find some way of providing these basic services to the residents of Haida Gwaii?
Madam Attorney.
Madam Speaker, it is indeed the case that Consumer Protection BC has reviewed the practices and does require people to be properly licensed in order to perform funeral services. And Madam Speaker, there's a gap now in the service available to people on Haida Gwaii. And I know that people are aware of that gap, Madam Speaker, and as I say, there's different authorities having a look at this, and I do hope that they can come to a solution, because it is very tough on people to be without that kind of service.
Member for Port Coquitlam.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Well, instead of wishing people well at a time of grief, when there's a complete and total lack of services in a part of British Columbia that needs those services, in a part of rural British Columbia that this government purports to want to represent, perhaps some leadership could be shown, and the Attorney General could say to Consumers British Columbia and to her own ministry, there's a problem here. How about we bring people together and try and fix it? So my question to the Attorney General is simple. Will she commit to working with Consumer British Columbia and her own ministry and getting this issue resolved so that the people of Haida Gwaii are not inconvenienced and can expect more than just, we wish you well?
Madam Attorney.
Madam Speaker, funeral providers are private providers. And the person who was purporting to be that private provider on Haida Gwaii was not suitable, and their ability to do that has not been permitted by Consumer Protection British Columbia. They make these decisions independently within their administrative requirements, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker,
Members,
the community, funeral providers in Prince Rupert, and I hope I will ask Consumer Protection BC, I will ask Consumer Protection BC, I will work together. It is something that is needed on the islands. It is a rather low market, so that's the challenge. There aren't that many funerals required every year. But Madam Speaker, there's no question that it is a gap in service on Haida Gwaii, and it's something that I think all of the people concerned will be attending to.
Member for Port Coquitlam.
Thank you. Oh, the minister says get off the high horse. Really, Minister? Really, Minister?
Members.
You think that when...
Member through the chair.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The minister thinks that in a remote part of British Columbia, when a loved one dies, it costs $10,000 to ship the body to the mainland for preparation and burial, that there's no funeral services, that the instructions are dig your own grave, dig the grave yourself, and then we get a response from the Attorney General, we wish you well, or there's a low market, Honourable Speaker. Can you get any more example of how callous a government can be than this, Honourable Speaker? The question is really simple. Will the minister and this government show some compassion and some leadership, work with Consumer Protection BC, work with the people of Haida Gwaii to solve this very real people for families who live in that part of British Columbia?
Madam Attorney.
Madam Speaker, this is clearly a concern. It's a concern to government. It's a concern to families. It's a concern to all of Haida Gwaii that they do not have funeral services. Madam Speaker, I am very prepared to talk to Consumer Protection BC about this and to work perhaps with the Minister of Communities, because there is obviously a gap on Haida Gwaii. The answer to that gap is not clear at the moment because a number of parties need to come together to find a solution, but certainly I am very prepared to help out with finding that solution, working together to find a solution for the people of Haida Gwaii.